This is our workshop and regular meeting for June 18th, 2025. We'll start with our call to order.
President Ferguson.
Here.
Vice President Gerard.
Here.
Councilmember Burns.
Here.
Councilmember Fagan.
Here.
Councilmember Cresser.
Here.
Mayor Gerard.
Here.
Junior Councilperson Nisbet. Borough Manager Snyder.
Here.
Borough Solicitor Harburg.
Here.
All right. Let's stand and do our Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We didn't arrange anyone to do the invocation. Would someone like to volunteer for that? If not, I will. Having heard none, I will do our invocation. God, we thank you for this day. We thank you for all the blessings that you've given us in this community. We just ask you to help us to lead our community with insight and thought and caring for those that we lead as our residents. And we just ask you to continue to bless this community, bless the people in it, and just let your blessings on this community be shown around about so that everyone can see the great work that you do. In your son's name we pray. Amen. All right, we'll start with item 1, approval of the meeting agenda. Can I get a motion to approve the agenda for today's meeting, June 18th, 2025, workshop and regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Cresser, second from Councilman Gerard. Any questions, changes, or amendments? If not, all in favor? Opposed? There are none. Item 2, approval of the minutes. Can I get a motion to approve the minutes from the May 7th, 2025 workshop meeting and the May 21st, 2025 regular meeting?
So moved.
Second.
A motion from Councilman Gerard, second from Councilwoman Cresser. Any questions, changes, or amendments? If not, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. We'll go to item 3, public input. Since we have such a large group today, we want to make sure that the public has a chance to provide input. If not, we'll go on to item 4, the announcements. Oh, sorry, go ahead.
I do have an email that was sent, that they would like to read. I did share it with, Public Works and Property and Equipment. So do you want me to read it? You okay if I read it?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Okay.
I did send this to the Public Works and Property and Equipment meeting. It is in reference to, the Heritage Park Pond. So, dear council members, please include the body of this email as public comment to be read at the next council meeting.
And I'm sorry, Madam Manager, do we want to include who wrote it as part of that? Oh, at the end. Okay, all right, sorry.
It was, I will do it right now. It
Okay.
was William Peterson, 240 Larkspur Lane. He's
Okay.
a resident of the Heather Meadows community, and he would just like his opinion noted for the pond, as he was not able to attend the town hall that we had. So he said, I understand that the pond at Heritage Park attracts Canadian geese, which can be a nuisance. However, I believe that the advantages of maintaining the pond far outweigh the disadvantages, and the advantages may not have as many vocal advocates speaking on their behalf. In a time of ongoing development and growth in our community, the Heritage Road Park is a unique oasis of wildlife in our borough. In the past month, I have seen 3 snapping turtles that look like dinosaurs. My son loves these. Multiple deer, and have been serenaded by the songs of hundreds of frogs, singing insects, and at least 14 unique bird species, as recognized by my bird song detecting app on my phone.
Mm.
Although these benefits may not be as readily apparent as the annoying geese, the pond quietly supports a rich, vibrant ecosystem. It provides essential habitat for local wildlife, including pollinators that contribute to the health of our broader environment. I respectfully urge the council to carefully consider the long-term consequences of removing the pond. Its ecological, educational, and community value should not be underestimated. The default approach should be to preserve the pond, unless there is a clear and compelling evidence that the disadvantages significantly outweigh the benefits. The borough should not proceed with its removal, particularly given the cost and impact of using public resources for such action. Thank you for all your work. William Peterson, 240 Larkspur Lane.
That was very eloquent.
I did communicate back to Mr. Pearson. I did share that with Public Works and Property and Equipment. Just the town hall meeting. So he watched it. He said he watched it in full, and he just wanted to thank everybody for their diligent efforts that he feels that council is putting into this consideration with the pond. So he did say thank you, and I said I would pass that message along, but I would still read his comment tonight for the record.
Yeah, we definitely appreciate that comment. And I think we should just encourage the community that it's an ongoing conversation as to what the pond becomes. And we encourage people with that, whether they have ideas or thoughts, one way or the other, to come out and express them because, you know, we're not trying to get rid of the pond, but we definitely want to do what's in the best interest and what people want to see in their neighborhood. So please keep the comments coming.
All right. Any other public input or comments? All right, if not, we'll go on to item 4, the announcements.
Next Borough Council meeting is the July 18th workshop regular meeting at 7 p.m. in council chambers. I think it's 16th, isn't it? When I read it, I was like, oh, it should be 16th. Today's the 18th. Yes, July 16th.
It's up wrong on this one.
Yeah, it's good. The July 16th workshop regular meeting at 7 p.m. in council chambers. The next planning commission is scheduled for Monday, June 23rd at 6 p.m. in council chambers. That planning commission meeting will be canceled due to lack of business. Borough is scheduled to meet Wednesday, June 25th at 8 a.m. in council chambers, though I believe that meeting will be canceled.
Yes, that's correct.
Was.
Okay. And the borough office will be closed Friday, July 4th in observance of the July 4th holiday.
All right, any questions?
Did you say the planning commission was canceled?
Yes, I just talked to the chairman today. I'll send an email out tomorrow. We will still have the Montgomery County Planning Commission, like steering committee though, at 7.
7.
Any questions?
It's old school. It works too, doesn't it?
All right, if there are none, we'll go to item 5, reports from our standing committees and the mayor. So we'll start with budget, finance, and labor. We did have a meeting earlier this evening to talk about the SEPTA property, which, since it's a real estate matter, we will talk about in executive session. And that's really the majority of what we talked about, so. Any questions for budget, finance, and labor? If not, we'll go on to planning, building, and zoning.
Yeah, we haven't met.
Okay,
I think we're going to meet, your email will schedule a meeting to talk about.
Yeah, all committees will meet sometime this summer, working on the public safety first, because there's some issues that have come up with lieutenant's schedule. So whatever he's available, so that will meet first, but all committees will meet sometime this summer. And yes, we will discuss those items along with updating the rental inspection.
how about public safety?
We haven't met, so there's nothing new to report.
All right, public works and property,
Has not met committee.
utilities,
Those have not met, we have nothing to discuss. I have nothing to report on this time.
HUROC,
Her did meet, and we discussed the unfortunate, Fall Fest, not Fall Fest, but the Founder's
Founder's
Day,
Day.
which was rained out. Unfortunately, we don't see that being rescheduled for any time this year, so. We also, discussed the, Fall Fest date change, which will now be on September 13th from 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock that day. And also, hopefully people have noticed, we have our new banners that were put up at the portals entrance to the borough, to sort of advertise the borough to, for people to come by and stop, see, and explore the borough.
Mhm. Any questions for HUROC? All right, so then we'll go on to the mayor.
We have several things to talk about. On May 22nd, I attended along with Councilman Gerard and Bacon, the North Penn Water Authority annual dinner. The authority will be celebrating its 60th anniversary this year. I think they're planning something in the fall, so look for that. The news also was about Anthony Bolito retiring after 27 years as executive director. I know you'll all join me in wishing Tony good luck on his retirement and thanks him for his insightful leadership. Keith Haas will succeed Tony. At the meeting, I also spoke with our Hatfield Borough Redwood Water Authority, and I asked about the possibility of council touring the Forest Park Water Treatment Center. So I'll just throw this out to everybody here. Is there interest in doing that? Because I will follow up then with our representative if there's enough interest.
Yep.
Do you think, okay. Okay, so I'll follow up on that. I have no details other than I'll follow up with that. Also, Councilman Gerard and Burns and myself, we toured the Mascara Total Recycle Facility in Burnsboro. I thought that was a really informative way to see how our recycling is handled. We had a different gentleman give the presentation, and he was a sales rep. So we sort of got a different perspective on things. I thought it was very informative. He also mentioned a lot about the landfill. Apparently they have a landfill tour, which I would like to go and tour also. So if anybody's interested, when I arrange something, just let me know about the landfill tour. On May 29th, council member Gerard and I attended the North Penn YMCA Community Leaders Breakfast. At the breakfast, there was a presentation on the PAL program by North Wales Borough Chief of Police. That was very informative. That's a very wonderful program. And last but not least, we did receive our recycling check for grant year 2022. Now it's 2025 now, so that's how long it took us to get that. And the amount of the check was $5,935, which is better than nothing, but yeah, it took a while to get there. I also want to point out, the commission's website has been updated, and I invite you to check that out. The web address is northmontorecycle.com. It's a lot more cheerful, and it definitely, our old one really needed a redo. And I think they're on the right track. It will constantly be updated as things come along, but it's a lot better than it was. And also I talked about the excess commercial tonnage and said that the DEP is making a change in the calculation and it impacts the excess commercial tonnage. Now, that is basically, for instance, if you have 100 tons of residential, 110 tons of commercial, then it's 10-ton excess commercial tonnage. And we used to be reimbursed at $10 a ton on that. So that's an extra $100. They want to chop that in half and only give us $5 a ton. Now, the reason they're looking at that is apparently there's a township in Lancaster County. The population is about 10,000 people, but they have a giant distribution center. So their excess commercial tonnage is like $385,000. So they wanted to address that imbalance. We got a check for $5,900 and they're getting thousands and thousands of dollars. So that's the reason why they were addressing that. Now, The grant money comes from the tipping fees. And that was established, when Act 101 was passed in 1988. The tipping fees are used to fund the grants. And basically, it's $2 a ton. The tipping fee is the amount that the haulers pay to the landfill to use the landfill. So if the tipping fee is $67, $2 of that goes to fund the grants. So if you have some communities getting hundreds of thousands of dollars and others just getting a nominal amount, I think something needs to be addressed here. So hopefully this will be looked at. I know that our grant consultants are putting together things to do. You go back to DEP and say, let's do this again. So as soon as I hear something, I'll let you know. Any questions?
What was the PALS program?
Police Athletic League?
Oh, that is police, so they,
Right.
okay,
Yeah,
okay.
that's where they police join with the kids of the community and,
Ah,
you know.
and
do
support them in their
sports.
athletic endeavor. Okay, got it. Okay. Mhm. Any questions for the mayor? All right, if there are none, we'll go to item 6, our reports and correspondence. Monthly investment?
Well, the investment report was in your packets. Also wanted to highlight that, Diane and I met with, KeyBank, who holds our investments, for like our first quarter kind of meeting. We talked about that, never had a meeting like this before where we kind of went over in detail. They provided us like a PDF of our accounts. It's kind of just before was just a phone call, like, hey, like your stuff's want more cash or so. It was very good to sit down, get a deep dive into the finances. But I wanted to highlight just our estimated income, like year to date, based on our investments, is over $71,000. And so they're doing great. When things have come up and we said, it was like a 6 month and it came up and it was listed on your report, they are automatically going back in if it's above 4%, because that's what our resolution and what our contract is with them. So it's they're just reinvesting, so they're keeping the money flowing better for us. And it was a standstill kind of in the past. So we kind of have a new advisor on our team. So he's been doing a great job. And I did want to highlight, just I know it's going back to 2022 when we were talking about our investments and we're like, being a good steward of the borough money, putting some things into some, T notes and those type of things. Where the benchmark was in 2022 it was actually ranked at negative 18%. The borough was only at that time at a negative 8%. So like we were well under where everybody else was reporting. These are accounts that are very similar to the boroughs. It has to be all US dollars, nothing foreign, very similar to other municipal accounts. So just showing that, previously in 2022, when we kind of got into where we were doing a little bit different with investing, we were actually still doing a good job. We were at negative, but it wasn't as bad as other municipalities or other people that had similar investments.
We're beating the market.
Yeah, yes, better than the market. And year to date, the benchmarks are still down, 4% with what people are investing on. We're positive 2.35. So, we're up compared to some people that are doing very similar stuff to us. So it was just good to see that, Borough Council and Budget Finance and Labor are doing a good job managing our investments and kind of putting the things where they should be in the correct funds. So I just wanted to highlight that. I thought it was really good conversation that we had with them. We had asked if we could see that more, maybe twice a year, have a deep dive into where we are instead of just a phone call. Hey, your cash is 18%. You like to keep it at 10%. What do you want me to invest in? But more of a deeper dive where we are, and we can share those documents with, council and Budget Finance and Labor moving forward. So they agreed to that. And I think it'll just be a better relationship that we have with KeyBank. So I was appreciative of that. And
Is that a new strategy that KeyBank's doing, or is it the person we're dealing with that changed? Or-
we did get a new account rep.
Okay.
Yeah, so
okay.
we used to have a different one that has been here probably since I started. It's the only one that I've ever known, even like as assistant prior to this role. And we have a new like account rep now. And it took a little while to kind of connect, to be able to schedule a meeting, but I think Diane and I were very impressed with the information that they provided. It was just different than we've ever received. We were just used to picking up the phone, having phone calls, and that was kind of it. So I liked that they gave us something very similar to what we get when we have a pension review. We do a pension review once a year with our pension provider, and we get something very similar. So it made us feel a little bit more at ease, especially the world and the market and things, it's not something that I went to school for, right? It's not, so it's good to know that.
That's why I have an advisor.
Yes, yeah, right. It's good to know that, hey, it's not just a phone call. We can see the actual documents, so we appreciate those. And just wanted to highlight that we will have some, they re-put these bonds up that you see on the board. We reinvested those. One's gonna be, maturing in July, one will be maturing in October, one will be maturing in August, and then the final one will be maturing in March, but not till 2026. So just so you know, I will make sure Diane gets the sheet updated for the next time so we can, continue to track those.
Any questions? If not, how about our EIT and LST?
EIT year to date, we are at 114,513 through the end of May. In 2024, we were at 109,507, so trending in the right direction. And for LST, through May, we were at 11,877. In 2024, we were at 12,739. So that's what we got that month, which, we're 24,000 total and 28,000. So we're trending very similar to where we were last year, with EIT pulling a little bit ahead. So we'll just continue to monitor that. We have been getting several calls to the borough about Berkheimer sending like delinquent tax bills. They think that they pay that to the borough. They don't, it's through that. So we could be seeing significant money coming in, because people are just behind on their Berkheimer. I don't know why, but very strangely over the past 2 to 3 months, we've seen a lot more calls than we ever have looking for how to pay their local tax, like LST tax or EIT, or their employer hasn't been taking it out and they got this letter. They think it's us, but it's Berkheimer.
Any questions? Okay. Is it something we should probably follow with Berkheimer to see what the reason is? Maybe they know what's going on. And
Yeah, we can.
Okay.
Yeah, it's just, I figured people probably it was around tax time because people file in April and then we're getting calls, but it's just been a lot more than we've ever received that I can recall, like
Okay.
working here. I just get a lot of voicemails about them.
Okay.
So I'm not really sure why. And a couple of been out in the neighborhood and a couple of the neighbors have made comments to me. So
Okay.
it's just kind of like, oh, yeah, you do have to pay those. And their employer didn't take it. I'm like, that has nothing to do with Hatfield
Right,
Borough.
right. Well, let's ask Berkheimer and see if there's a trend or something going on that we can
Yeah.
notify the community on, so people are aware.
Right.
Maybe they need to double check their withholdings and things like that to make sure it's
Right, I'm
correct.
thinking that's probably the problem, that
Yeah.
their employers are not withholding it. Maybe the employers moved and didn't realize that they had to withhold the
Mhm.
taxes. or
Yeah,
something like
yeah.
that.
Or again, something's changed and
Right.
yeah. Okay,
So
all right, cool.
Berkheimer's is probably doing a good job following up, which is also a good sign.
Mhm. All right. If no questions, we'll go on to year to date.
Year-to-date report is in your packets. Revenues were over 900,000 in April. Over 300,000 of that was grant reimbursement. So, hey, money is money. We'll pay our debt down with that. And our expenses were a little bit lower at 433, but I believe the AMP bill didn't make it that month. I think we paid 2 AMP bills in May, so it might be why it was a little bit less.
You're holding your public works director under control from misspending, right?
Yes,
Okay, all right, just want to make sure. So.
this year.
All right, any questions? All right, if not, we'll go on to the zoning hearing board.
There were no new applications this month.
How about the Montgomery County Planning Commission Steering Committee meeting?
The agenda that we spoke about in May is in your packets. You can just see what we're reviewing, the survey, the open house. We were going to be, handing out people, if they were at Founder's Day, we're gonna be handing out some flyers with the QR codes. Unfortunately, we didn't get to do that. We could probably get another push. We'll talk at the meeting next week, for the community survey, see how many have applied. It was well over 100 last time, so hopefully people are continuing to fill that out. And we'll be talking, I believe, next meeting, the economic development, I think is what they said.
Do you want to send those out maybe through a mailer to get more of that feedback, or I know that'd be a cost to us?
No, I think we did mail out the postcards when they first came in. Everybody got a postcard to
Okay,
their house.
okay.
Well, they were supposed to. I did. You got one? Okay.
I'm not allowed to touch the mail, so. Probably shouldn't say it in a public forum, right? Just in case my wife's listening, so.
Uh-huh.
Okay, all right. Any questions? If not, we'll go on to our police report.
The lieutenant was unable to be at the meeting this evening as he had a previous commitment, but had asked if there were any questions on the report to let me know, or you can email him directly.
If there are no questions, we'll go on to a fire report.
225 calls so far. We're up about 20%.
20% year to date?
Yeah.
Okay.
On target for probably close to 500. And we have a 5-year plan that went into place this year with Colmar. And as part of that, they just sold their ladder trucks. So we'll probably start taking more calls for that too.
Yeah.
And also this month, we got a compliance review request from the state to show them that we're not treating our juniors poorly. So they ran a nice report for that, sent that up to the state.
You didn't let them know about the hazing, right?
No,
Okay, all right, good, good.
I let that chapter out. I haven't heard anything back from them yet, but I don't know how long it will take them to go around to reading the reports, how many they do in a month, so.
Let me just clarify for the state that's watching, we are joking, there is no hazing, so I'll make sure I'm clear with that, so. There was also talk, if I remember a little while back, of a time coming up here in the near future where the truck was gonna have to be replaced.
Our new squad is being built, it's possible it might be here next month,
Okay,
August.
okay. All right,
We already sold the old one 2 months ago, you trade off on.
all right, any questions?
Just raised an issue, because I saw this in another township. You guys have the money to pay for the truck, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Because I did see this in another township where the fire company came in and said, hey, we ordered a truck, it'll be in August, and we need $1 million. To the elected officials, they almost died. So,
Previous.
Good.
Wait until the last minute, we said, okay, it's time to replace the truck, how are we gonna do?
so, right, okay, good, just checking.
And we're replacing another one, 2029 too. So I don't get here really fast.
All right, if there are no questions, we'll go on to EMS.
There was no EMS report in your package this month.
All right. How about Public Works?
Nothing really substantial to report other than the power outage at Heritage Village Apartments.
How about our engineering?
Engineering report was in your packets, pretty similar to last month's report. He just highlights the work that was completed on the utility replacement project. As you can see, West Broad Street has paving now, so looks great. Have
Those are
heard
good.
great things about it. I did want to highlight at the bottom, again, we just submitted another, we just got another $600,000 back in grant reimbursements. So close to $1 million in grant reimbursements that we've received back already that are going to pay down our debt. So you'll continue to see those large payments on the bill list at the top. It's not us paying our principal. It's us making extra payments. So we're not having $400,000 of payments every month of our principal payments. It's just us paying down the debt. So I did send that off. I think it was 608,000 we got back. So I did request to prepay our 2024 borrowing debt. So, just waiting for confirmation that it will go through, and I'll sign the documents, and then we'll have that money come off the debt. So, then we'll have a little bit more grant money come back in, and hopefully we can, reallocate some things moving forward.
All right, any questions? All right, how about the zoning officer's report?
There was no report in your packets.
Fire marshal safety inspection?
There was no report in your packets this month, but just in case anybody did see, there was, a potential spill reported, at the creek on, Talmenton Avenue, and the Main Street right across here. Somebody had said that they smelled and saw like diesel sheen in the creek. Reported the fire company was dispatched. The fire company came out. I believe with the Hatfield Police Department, our fire marshal was dispatched, but, was unable to respond. They did put some materials up to catch any sheen that they believed they saw. They could not find a, starting point or where something was coming from. And I believe that, the last correspondence I got from the fire marshal was DEP was notified, but they, declined to respond. So, fire company still has, I believe, their stuff out there, in the creek. I think it was there earlier today. Yeah, so, if you are walking your dogs or cats or chickens and you see it out there, that's what it was. And, we saw it came in on Sunday, maybe around 3 o'clock, we saw the fire call. Yeah.
So in our leash ordinance, does it cover chickens too?
I don't know, I think, does it?
I believe so.
Yeah.
Does it? Okay.
Yeah, I think it was because someone said about walking cats.
I think we have all.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
There were discussions.
All right, any questions? If not, we'll go on the pool advisory updates.
Pool advisory report was included in your packets, just their, typical, kick off the season, meetings, but I will say, due to the weather in June, they haven't really been able to stay open as long as they would like to stay open. They've been closing around 2 o'clock or 3 o'clock on weekends. Today is the first day that they were open, every day now since North Penn had graduation last night. So, they will be open every day. Seemed to be nice at mid of the day, so, we'll just see where it goes, but, wasn't a very successful Memorial Day till, beginning of June. A lot of rain and a lot of cold weather.
All right, any questions? All right, if not, we'll go on to, we'll go on to item 7 and the manager's report.
My report is included in your packets. I will just highlight, there's been some questions about the status of 23 North Main Street. So 23 North Main Street is scheduled to go to closing at the end of June. And after they go to closing, they have already put in for a demo permit that is, going through the review process. So they will be looking at doing demo probably first week in July. I'm going to estimate, once they get all the utilities disconnected and letters from the utility providers. And then they will be demoing the front house and then working on the utility work that they need to have replaced in the road. They need to do some water work before we pave. And then they'll start to do foundation work. He had said sometime he believes in like August, start the foundations in the back lot. So that's their estimated time frame. Obviously, due to the weather or road projects or anything can change, but that's his estimated time frame to get the project started. He's hoping to have it basically under roof by the winter time, so then they can work inside over the winter.
Okay.
And then
Any more feedback from the neighbors on that?
I have not heard any feedback from the neighbors. I'm not sure if anybody else has had any conversations.
Okay.
Items of interest, just wanted to make you aware that PMEA conference registration, if you're interested in attending, it's September 3rd through September 5th at the Omni Bedford Springs. You can register for that. North Wales Arts and Cultural Center has a grand opening on June 30th. We were invited and I was asked to share it with the elected officials. kind of had a preview. We had a partnership TMA meeting there maybe a month ago. Very nice facility. I think they did a great job. So if anyone's interested in attending their grand opening,
Someone from council want to attend that to represent us?
Time is it?
11:30 to 1:30 on June 30th.
I'll let you know.
How is parking there? How is parking at that facility?
When we went for the partnership meeting, it was basically on street, or they contracted, or they got the funeral home across the street to allow their parking lot to be used for parking. So I'm not sure if like North Wales will be doing the same for like their performing arts center. But that's where the partnership meeting was in there, and that's what we had to do, either find on-street parking, because they said, oh, you can park at the North Wales train station. It's kind of a walk. I mean, it's not horrible, but it's kind of a walk. On-street parking and or at the funeral home across the street. But I can find out if there's like a designated lot or something. Yeah,
I'd like to go, but I'm reluctant to. I can't park someplace within reasonable distance.
okay, yeah, I can ask Christine. And also one thing that was not on the list that I wanted to highlight was, I talked about it briefly with both members on budget, finance and labor at separate times. But, Congressman Fitzpatrick is, working on an allocation, funding for Hatfield Borough for, $3 million. So in 2007, Hatfield Borough had done, a project with the Army Corps of Engineers for West Vine Street for some pipes in the road. And Congressman Fitzpatrick's office came back to me in 2023 and said, hey, yeah, you have $310,000 you've never spent. Like, do you want the money? Well, yeah, we want the money. Like, it's
Kind of a no-brainer.
doing this big project. Like, we can use it to pay back this big project. Okay, like, we'll look into it. Never heard anything. About last month, I believe it was, got an email and said, you know, Congressman is going for the budget and would like to allocate $3 million for Hatfield Borough, because that was the cost of the utility replacement project. Can you write a letter of support? I need it by tomorrow at 5. And, you know, I reached out to Jason. I had asked like, hey, we could get some money potentially for the borough. I don't really know the stipulations. We don't need to fund anything right now. Can, you know, we write this letter? He said, yes. So we wrote the letter. Steve and I jumped on a call with them, basically the following week saying like, hey, we were notified. This is the Army Corps of, hey, we were notified by the congressman that he's trying to get you $3 million. Would you be interested in working with us? If you are, you have to write a letter of intent that you would, in fact, accept the $3 million if it was offered to you. You would match the money at like it's 25%. But we just need a letter of intent saying that you would be okay working with us, but you don't have to say yes right now. It's just a letter of intent. If we
Define what it is.
yes, or define what the project is. So we had said, hey, right now, like that project's almost done. Like, can we use the money to pay that project back? That's the original project. No, you have to come up with a new project. I said, can it be any project? They said, it's any project in your borough. So we had put in for sanitary work on Cherry and Diamond, which was a big project we wanted to do probably in 3 years. And stormwater work on West Vine Street, which is another big project we wanted to do in about 2 years, 3 years, to get the use out of the backhoe. That's one reason why we kind of bought the backhoe. One selling point was so we could do some in-house stuff. And so we wrote the letter, and we're just waiting to hear back. It's kind of, they used to call it like walking around money. It's like appropriations. Walking around money, I guess, isn't very good to call it anymore, but they're, yeah, right. That's what we call it when we get through PMEA, but it's like appropriations money. Right now, the way they described it was, hey, you know, you're like, you know, you might have your driver's license and right now you're just waiting to get your car, right? And once you get your car, you can do your project. But,
So how it works is, if they really need the congressman's vote on a budget bill, they sweeten the pot by saying, we'll give Hatfield that grant you asked for. And so I think there's a good chance of that, you know, of that being in the bill. The only question is, when it gets to the Senate, is it still gonna be there?
Right.
But I think it's a good shot, and the fact that Fitzpatrick represents a very large area and picked Hatfield, good for you. You know, if you get it, it's found money.
Yeah.
yeah, If we get it, we will have to be responsible for 25% of it, like matching 25%, but it would be over, the Army Corps of Engineers said they don't work fast, so it would be, oh, you'd be able to budget over the next two years, 3 years, because they would design your project. They become your engineer for this project. So it kind of, they do the soup to nuts, everything in between. And yes, there'd be some financial contribution on us, but it would be $3 million that we would get for Hatfield Borough. So we're just waiting to hear from that. I think, like Kate said, it's awesome that Congressman Fitzpatrick, found the money from an old project and tried to, allocate a new project of funds, that's a lot more money than 310,000. So I appreciate the support. So we're just waiting to hear back. So just fingers crossed on the budget that Hatfield Borough sticks and makes it all the way through.
Can we shoot him a letter just thanking him for the support on that? And then, we look forward to getting, to hearing good news on getting the funds. So,
Yeah.
okay.
Then if you get the money and start the project, although we're talking years, invite him to some kind of a, ribbon cutting
Absolutely,
or
absolutely.
Or
Yep,
something
yep,
like that,
yep.
because he does have a big territory, so
Mhm.
Hatfield Borough, which is a relatively small community,
Mhm.
gets this. It's big for us.
Yeah, yeah. And then the other thing I was gonna say, do we want to start thinking about what those projects might be? Because we've talked about a lot. We've talked about the crosswalk projects. We've talked about what are we gonna do with the pond? We've talked about stormwater runoff. How do we want to manage that differently?
Yeah,
So,
it needs to be used for specifically sanitary or stormwater.
okay,
Like that's
Okay.
that's what it has to be. It's like
Okay.
it's like the water, something water quality, something.
okay,
Part of that. So there's like a list of projects that you can do.
okay.
So we said, because we knew that Cherry Street, doesn't have to be over there, but we knew Cherry Street was, there are residents that complain sometimes of backups during storms with sanitaries and stuff. We knew that that was a big collection point over there of stormwater from coming from the township to the borough and flooding out the downtown. So we picked over there, and then there's some issues on West Lincoln that we put in, but we kind of were just like, hey, let's pick these projects. It doesn't have to end up
Right,
being that.
right.
It's just, we kind of work together, and we think it would be whatever the most bang for your buck is, right? Those are the projects we'll do, the most impact on the residents.
And
They're
I'm
the
sure
projects
you've
we'll
already
choose.
thought of this, but Chad probably has ideas.
Yeah,
The sanitary, we know we have an infiltration and inflow problem. We've been
Which we're
working on
addressing
for
it.
3
Yeah,
years.
yep.
yeah.
So that's stormwater getting into your pipes, and
Mhm.
it's also getting into your sanitary pipes.
Right, right.
So, we probably, the project you mentioned or something like that would probably qualify to go if it remedied infiltration and inflow into your sewer
Right,
pipes.
right. Yeah, so let's list some of those out and see what our options are. So that way, we've had some conversation before then.
We can
If we
see the
can.
most, we can rank them. We
Yeah.
have something similar for the stormwater grant that we're working on with Hatfield Township, where we picked locations and the number of people impacted, residents impacted. So, like we have like a ranking system and how we get like grant funding based on this ranking system. So we can do something similar for projects in the borough, like take the same formulas, basically, use the same, but input the data to get that information.
That'll
So
be great.
Steve, that could
Yeah,
be something Steve and I can work on.
okay.
But let's keep our fingers crossed.
Yeah, yeah. All right, you made my day twice today. Twice. It's
Maybe
awesome.
the next thing's the third, I really think. I think you're gonna like this one.
All right. Any other questions? All right, if not, we'll go on to the new business. We'll start with item A, the pedestrian crossing and improvement.
So, this would actually be, to advertise, to start the project, to go out to bid. The pedestrian crossing improvements project. This is the mast arm crosswalks on Broad Street and Telmenson Avenue, Main Street and Liberty Bell Trail Crossing. I had spoken to Anton. We kind of were thinking this was more of originally a 2026 project, kind of based off of where we are for the utility replacement. We actually got the HOP permits a lot quicker than we thought for South Main and for West Broad. So he had said we can move forward and advertise this in July, have a bid opening in August. It does take a little while for the materials to come in. So you might see the project starting in late fall, carry over until like early winter in 2026. The good thing about this project is back prior to COVID actually happening, we borrowed the money for this project already, and it's been sitting in a bank account. So we have over $330,000 just sitting in Harleysville, in a different account that we use for the bridge and some other things to be used for this project. We did also receive 2 grants for this project. So we received a multimodal transportation fund grant for this project, and we received a county transportation program grant for this project. So we should be putting some money out this year. I did say, it wasn't something that we specifically budgeted for because we kind of took it out thinking it was going to be a 2026 project. But because we have the money already in the bank for it, and we did get grant funding, we think we will be well within the hopefully 330 for that. And if not, we can budget the remainder for 2026. So I know a lot of people want to see the crosswalk, especially up Broad Street in Talmenton. I get calls a lot from actually Jim Rudolph's zoning hearing board, because that was part of the Vinnie zoning hearing board way back in the day, a stipulation that they had to put a crosswalk up. So finally going to get this project moving. And then that money that we have comes out of an account that we can finally close and kind of take our debt down a little bit. We're just carrying this money on our debt, which we're going to put out, and then we can kind of reallocate some things. So we don't have like an A and a B note, do some things a little bit differently. So it would save money on the back end for us too.
Again, that's number 3.
Yeah.
So, yes.
I think this project, everybody just can't wait to do both of them, especially in the summertime. I wish it could be done for the summer for moms. It's just a hard crosswalk there, and moms are so busy.
Yeah. And can you resend out to council what we talked about in both locations? Because I know it's been probably about a year and a half or so since we actually looked at the layout and what the designs. Yeah. Just to familiarize everyone with it again. So. Awesome. I know a lot of the residents will be happy about this. This has been one of the major things people have commented on. So the safety of crossing at that intersection. So. All right. 3 times today.
Consideration as an action item to advertise it. And then we'll have the borough will take responsibility of running it in the paper. And then Bowman will put it on pen bid for us and kind of run that part of the project.
All right, any questions? All right, item B, resolution 2025-11, support of the SEPTA funding.
This resolution was provided to me actually by Mayor Gerard, who has had communication with other mayors in the area. As you may or may not be aware that, funding for SEPTA is in dire need. I think the state's budget, if it doesn't include vital new transit funding, SEPTA will be forced to cut its service by 45% and increase fares by 21.5%. I know I read that everyday SEPTA buses, trains, and trolleys provide more than 800,000 trips for commuters, in southeastern Pennsylvania. So it's extremely important that SEPTA is funded. A lot of other municipalities in the area, specifically, I know North Wales and Upper Gwynedd have passed very similar resolutions, just calling on the state to provide funding for SEPTA. Mayor, is there anything else to add?
Well, the 132 bus will be eliminated as of January of 2026. And there's also going to be, as far as the regional rail line, there's going to be midday service will be reduced from hourly to every 2 hours. And some peak and evening service will be eliminated. And then in 2026, there will be no regional service after 9 p.m. And there will be reduced weekly and weekend service. So this area, the 132 goes right through Hatfield.
It's the only bus in Hatfield.
So we definitely, and how does everybody feel about that? And Councilman Fagan has offered, he uses the regional rail line. So I thought he might be able to give us some insight into how this will impact him and the region in general.
Yeah, I mean, I just wanted to voice the strong support that I have personally. I ride the train every day down to the city, 22nd and Market. And it really is like an integral part of this community. I mean, it ties the suburbs to downtown Philadelphia. And if we didn't have that connection in, this area, it would be a huge loss. Specifically for the North Bend region, we have several, regional rail stops that they're kind of like little hubs for the town, you know what I mean? And a lot of places do try to develop right along the transit lines because it's a big draw for people. If they can live, a half hour, 45 minutes outside the city and just hop on a train and get to work, that's a huge draw to bring people into the community. So yeah, I definitely wanted to voice our strong support for a safe, clean, environmentally sustainable form of transportation in more ways than one, not just with, pollution and air pollution, but also just traffic on roads, the way it reduces that. I think it would really, I don't think people realize how much how much people rely on it and how much they would lose if, this went into effect, because honestly, the death spiral theory of raising rates for less service, I mean, the service now is not great. I ride it every day. I love it. I love the train, but let me tell you, they're getting by on a shoestring the way it is. So if you cut what they have now, it's not gonna last long. So yeah, it's very important that everybody reaches out to their elected officials, at the county level, at the state level, to make sure that the state government can actually provide, you know, permanent, dedicated, sustainable funding in the long term, not just to sustain a system, but hopefully to one day expand it. So.
Yeah, and I do believe when I looked, it was like a fundseptanow.com.
Oh, yeah, that whole website. Yep. And I think they just had a rally. Was this morning in Lansdale?
Yeah, because I saw that. they did
Senator
a House
Collette?
bill. Yeah, House Bill like 1364, I guess, passed, but now they're like calling on the Senate.
Yeah, and it's budget season in Harrisburg, so it's very important that this line item gets, addressed, because from what I understand, it's being tied with highway funding on the state level and all that. And because the rural areas, they don't rely on public transportation, so they say. But I do want to put this out there that if, for all the bad rep Philly gets in this state, I mean, if it was removed from our state, we would lose a huge economic driver, not just for the southeastern part of the state, but for the entire state. So there's no other area that, provides that kind of economic boom and that kind of business and people on an ongoing everyday basis. So I do want to emphasize that, we all need the city needs us, and hopefully the governor and the Senate can work something out. Hopefully.
So if this was something that council wanted to support, it's on for consideration as an action item. Be happy if you guys decide to pass this, send it to our reps, to anybody. If you want to write a letter, if you want to write a personal letter because you are personally impacted and you're a council member here,
Sure.
I'd be happy to include that with it. However you want to handle this. I think it's, again, as Councilmember Fagan said, dire need for our community. And I don't really think that people are going to realize how much they're impacted by it if it goes away. So, but it's up for consideration tonight as an action item.
Any other questions? If not, we'll go on to item C, D, E, and F, the utility replacement project payments 11 through 14.
Utility replacement project application number 11 is a recommendation for $300,375.19, and it's work associated with curbing, sidewalk, paving work on West Broad and East Broad Street. Application number 12 in the amount of $8,638.20 includes payment work associated with curbing, sidewalk, paving work related to storm sewer replacement on North Main Street. Payment request, application request number 13 is in the amount of $59,116.50 and includes work associated with curbing, sidewalk, paving work related to the sanitary sewer replacement project on North Main Street. And payment request number 14 is in the amount of $99,574.20, and it includes payment work associated with paving related to the North Penn Water Authority main replacement on West Broad Street. So those 4 requests are on for consideration as an action item. And they're broken out again because it's how we can get grant reimbursement. And the last one for North Penn Water Authority work will be reimbursement from North Penn Water Authority.
Steve, how's our relationship with KBC, man?
I think it's fantastic.
We talked about that before, and I just wanted to make sure that that was continuing, so good.
Yeah, I've had zero issues with anybody with KBC.
Okay. Mhm. Any questions? If not, we'll go to item 9, old business. If there is any.
I don't have any.
Okay. Just wanted to throw it out there, so. All right, we get to the action part of our meeting. Item 10, the action items. We'll start with item A, motion to consider advertising the pedestrian crossing improvement project, Broad Street and Talminson Avenue and Main Street and Liberty Bell Trail crossing. Can I get a motion?
Second.
A motion from Councilman Burns, second from Councilwoman Cresser. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item B, motion to consider resolution 2025-11 supporting the funding for SEPTA.
So moved.
Second.
A motion from Councilman Fagan, a second from Councilman Burns. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item C, motion to consider payment request number 11 for the utility replacement project to KBC Construction LLC in the amount of $300,375.19.
Motion.
Second.
A motion from Councilman Burns, a second from Councilman Gerard. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item B, motion to consider payment request number 12 for the utility replacement project to KBC Construction LLC in the amount of $8,638.20.
Second.
I have a motion from Councilwoman Cresser, a second from Councilman Burns. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item E, motion to consider payment request number 13 for the utility replacement project to KBC Construction LLC in the amount of $59,116.50.
Motion.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilman Burns, a second from Councilman Gerard. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. Item F, motion to consider payment request number 14 for the utility replacement project to KBC Construction LLC in the amount of $99,574.20.
Motion.
Second.
I got a motion from Councilman Burns, a second from Councilwoman Fagan, or Councilwoman Cresser. Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. All right. Do we have any questions on the bills before I make a motion to consider?
I have one. The amount of 1848 to Shell, Bartle and Dooley. And it says DePietro appeal. Is that DePietro on Lambert Street? Is that something you do with that property?
No, that was for, the gentleman at, what is it? 103 North Main Street. I was trying to think, where the appeal that went through with Nan's old property.
Okay.
Yeah, that his last name happens to be that, so it's similar. Yes, yeah. I couldn't remember the address, 103 North
Okay,
Main.
thank you.
Yeah.
That's right.
And you already talked about the big expenditures earlier in the meeting.
Yeah, the other thing I would say is that, Eric Fry and I agree that, if it's a zoning hearing board appeal, I usually just let him do it. So that we don't have two briefs and you don't pay for two briefs on behalf of Borough and then the Borough joins. That's how we do it.
All right. Since there doesn't appear to be questions on the bill, can I get a motion to consider approval for the payment of the bills?
I'll move.
Second.
A motion from Councilman Gerard, a second from Councilman Burns. I'm assuming there's no questions, so all in favor? Opposed? There are none. Motion passes. We did mention earlier, we're gonna have an executive session, so can I get a motion to adjourn? I get a motion from Councilman Cresser, a second from Councilman Gerard. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.